everyone, and welcome back to the Green Witch Homestead. As you can see behind me, the couple weeks of rain that we've had has resulted in an explosion of greenery everywhere. So today we're going to do a walk through the garden and take a look at everything that's growing and how much progress we've made on it so far. My garden space is slowly expanding this year. We've got our little seeding area here, and I've planted this little planter. We've got the main show vegetable garden over here. I got myself another green stalk, and then this area over here where the pigs were is all done and planted up. This green stalk I've put chard in. We are getting into the higher temperatures here in Missouri, and that happens pretty quickly. Leafy greens are pretty much done for the next few weeks. Swiss chard can handle a little bit of heat, but this tree right here puts these guys into shade by about 11 o'clock, so it's a great spot for them to grow. This is where the pigs were, and this spot here I have to get some paving stones. We're going to put a little bench right here, but this area here I've got sunflowers in already, and I've got this spot back here seeded with zinnias and sunflowers, and hopefully they'll all come up and it'll just be a big patch of wild pretty flowers. We've got it hilled up. I do have corn planted in there, and then I've got squash planted over on this side. Here beside our tent, we have a little charcoal grill, and this little empty space behind it, I have a trash can, but I wanted to hide it, so I tossed a bunch of wildflower seeds in this little spot here, and I'm not disappointed. They're super pretty. I've got yellow and white and pink coming up. It's a great little way to hide corners that are not necessarily pretty to look at. You're gonna have to forgive me. I'm gonna put these on because it is brighter out there than I expected it to be this morning. Tucked back in this little corner here is my little flower garden. It's mostly shade perennials. I've got some pretty colored yarrow in there, and some Asiatic lilies, as well as some Hawaiian black elephant ears, and other things that are just pretty to have around the seating area. The very first little bed that's right here when you come out of the seating area is where I had my radishes. Personally, I don't actually grow a lot of radishes. I usually do a little bit right at the beginning just for that taste, that first little spring nibble to go in salads, but we're not super fond of them, so I don't grow too much of them. I also have my artichokes up here in this garden, and fingers crossed that I'm actually going to get something out of them this year. This is a wild strawberry that I've put into this grow bag to kind of help it propagate, get a little bit healthier, and I've been stealing runners from it to put elsewhere. This is my asparagus patch. Now it is almost done for the season. I'm still getting a few little ones out of it. I do just let it go. I will let them go to seed, and then I chop them back and they come back next year. Moving down this way, we have our cabbage row. I know my cabbage is out in full sun at the moment, however it is still early morning and the sun's potency hasn't quite reached its max yet. So they're also in that same position with the green stalk tower, that this tree will provide shade for them when the sun gets to that point where it's actually beating down. Moving on from the cabbage, this was where my spinach patch was, and as you can tell, we've moved off from spinach. I have some edamame soybeans in here, and then I've got my bush beans up on this side here. I do have a cucumber in here and hiding over here, and we're going to put another arch trellis for them to grow on. This is an onion that I left from last year to go to seed, so they are almost opened up, and I will harvest seeds from these guys to save for next year. I got my little pot of nasturtiums right here. My garlic bed is going strong. They have put their scapes off, so a couple more weeks and we will be harvesting garlic. Here in Missouri, we plant, or at least I personally plant my garlic on October 31st, and I usually harvest it on 4th of July. Moving from the garlic, we have this little planter here, and then I have my carrot bed. So you see these tomato cages. They're called tomato cages. I've never used them for tomatoes. I don't know why anyone would. They just are not big enough to support a tomato plant. However, they work great for things like tomatillos, peppers, okra, any other big tall plant that you need to protect from falling over in the wind. They are here because I did plant okra with my carrots, and I usually will put some type of tall plant in with a lower bushy plant like carrots. However, with this crazy cold snap that we had, my okra seeds did not germinate in here. Right now, it's just carrots. Across from the carrot bed, I have my peppers. I was originally going to do my pepper bed as corn, and I had it actually planted. That's where those few corns that are growing over there came from. However, when I seeded the corn, I promptly had a mole come through and follow my row and eat almost every single kernel that I had planted. On this side here is my hot peppers. Now they are looking a little worse for wear. Like I said, we had that crazy overcast, cold, and my peppers are just now recovering from it. But I have some chocolate Carolina Reapers and some ghost peppers in here. These are my Serrano peppers, and growing on this back section is my sugar snap peas. They are a little stunted this year, but they are just now starting to take off. I have one little zucchini plant, and then I have a new pepper that I'm trying this year. I got this from a friend. It's a Spanish Mammoth sweet pepper. Apparently it's good for roasting and salsa. And then hiding over here, these little stumpy things. These are my habanadas. The habanadas are another new pepper for me. They look really bad. I did not like being transplanted. I've been having a hard time getting them started. I've heard a lot of good things about them, and I'm super excited to try them. Anybody have any growing tips on them? Like I said, I love growing peppers, but for some reason these guys were just being little jerks. I have noticed a little white rabbit running around behind me. That's Miss Sharon. Mrs. Sharon is a lion's mane, and she is almost 3 years old now. She is my best mother out of all my rabbits. When I breed my rabbits, I usually will breed Miss Sharon. She has small litters. The reason I breed Miss Sharon is because if I have a mom who tries to reject her babies, I give them to Miss Sharon. So I just took them and I put them all with her for the last week or so of their weaning, because like I said, it was getting pretty cold at night, still below the 40s, and she did an excellent job. So now she is on vacation. She gets free range of our outdoor garden area when I'm out here. She does have an enclosure that I lock her up in when I go inside, because as awesome and as cute and lovable as she is, I don't trust her not to eat my garden. She's a rabbit. There's my garlic over there, and then this here is one of my onion patches. I also have broccoli growing down the center. There's Mrs. Sharon right there. So I have, in here I have Highlander sweet onions growing, and as you can tell, they are starting to bulb out. They're not very big yet. They'll have a little ways to go still, but we're getting there. And then down here is my long onion patch, and these are all Elsa Craigs. As seen in a previous garden tour video, I finally got my tomato beds in, and they are doing amazing. These are my experiment. I'm doing some determinate tomatoes this year. So I have in that one up there, I believe is a celebrity, and these are Better Boys. I've never grown a determinate tomato before, and I wanted to try it, so I did pick some up from our Master Gardener's greenhouse, and I've got them. They say they do better in pots, so that's what I'm trying this year. We'll see how they grow. I do have one that I actually stuck in the garden to see if the whole pot thing was true or not. The things that I ascribe to when I garden is a sort of potager style gardening. I like to put different plants together that benefit each other a little bit or have different traits so they're not competing. And I always like to stick some flowers in around my gardens just to help with the pollinators as well as just the general look of the garden. It is a traditional raised bed road garden. However, putting the flowers in random places kind of gives it a little bit more of a chaos that just makes the garden more enjoyable to sit in. This is my first tomato bed, and I have some calendula growing here. The tomatoes, as you can see, are already jumping up. I do have to start tying them off. These are my red slicers. Over here in this bed are my yellow slicers. I'm trying some new ones this year. And I've got, again, more calendula and then some beets growing down the center of these guys. And over here in this one, These are what I call my crazy tomatoes. So in here I've got some Mr. Stripeys, I've got some White Beauties, I've got some Delicioso. Basically these are going to be showy tomatoes. And I have carrots planted under them again for a second cropping. My tea garden is the perfect example of a potager garden. Most of what's in here is edible or used for tea in some way. I have lavender and basil, I have motherswort, irises, raspberries, lemon balm, mint, oregano, sage, some blueberries over here, and then I have some pretty flowers mixed in. I do have my poppies, as you can see, which are still blooming. I think the orange ones are done, but the white ones are going crazy. And I have this gorgeous little tea rose that someone gifted me, and it's about to explode in blossoms. And they are really pretty. I don't know if you can tell on this one, but they're like a variegated blossom. I love this thing. It's the only rose I've ever been able to successfully grow. Roses don't like me. I don't know why. And of course, because again, this is my show garden and it is road facing, I have my little pretty flowers and stuff up front that are just starting to take off. I have some coleus, and in here is some Thai roselle. Then down here is a sweet potato vine. I've got some marigolds in there for insect control, but these petunias, they look like they glow, honestly. And then moving down here, I've got some different colors, some more coleus and sweet potato vine, as well as the silver falls, and petunias galore. Now, this is the one I was super excited about. This is my Black Mamba petunia. It did come back. Most of them came back with that red color, like you see here, but I did get one that bloomed true. And then again, another little planter, and some more petunias. Last but not least is my first garden tower, which, as you can tell, is empty again. I've taken this apart and reconstituted the soil in each of the baskets, stirred it up and added some more nutrients to it. I moved the strawberries up to the top, and I'm gonna let them do their thing. I do have a few nice berries on here. I'm gonna let them do their thing with the runners, as well as that plant over there I was talking about. I'm grabbing the runners off. Eventually I will fill this tower up with strawberries and use the other one for my leafy greens. Right now I have seeded in here, I put some peanuts down on the bottom and some herbs and flowers up on the top. That's what I have growing up here in my show garden. Our show garden is what's road facing, what people see. It's also what we personally eat out of. So I have a smaller space to feed us, and I do little bits of things that we grow in our market garden just to show off what we have available. The market garden is planted. We are putting the fencing up for it today, and I'm super excited. We have the last little bit of our compost and our straw bale, which will go on the potatoes one more time, both of them. And the market garden is all wrapped up and almost completely full. So I have a row of tomatoes here, which I'm going to put a cattle panel trellis for, and then peppers. Here we have okra, which you can see is just starting to break the surface. Another row of tomatoes. They are suffering a little bit of transplant shock. And then these last 3 rows are all bush beans. Our potato field, which is doing amazingly, and it's already ready for its second hilling up. And then at the very back there is a spot that we've put compost down and we've got it covered, and I'm going to be planting some melons in here this weekend, actually. As you can see, things are coming along quite nicely. This is a huge space. We do have deer sensitive plants in here now, so we will be getting the fencing up around that main garden. Once it's fenced, it'll be done. We've done with all the soil amendments on this place, so now it's just a no-till section. That's why we're putting the fence in, so you don't have to worry about getting heavy machinery back in here. We'll just drop compost on it and leaf mulch every year and continue to improve the quality of this particular market garden. This is going to be our new project area. The pigs have been moved off it. They've done an amazing job with killing all of the weeds on it and spreading that compost out. We're gonna have to come through and sift it a little bit, get it spread a little more evenly, and then get a tarp or some hay down on this one to let it sit. And this will be another market garden next year. The ladies have moved down a little bit, and as you can see from where they are there, they're already almost done on that second spot and ready to be moved again. So I have to say, one of the biggest and the most useful lessons I've learned in this homestead journey of ours is how to use nature's quirks to work for your benefit. Things like with the pigs, tilling the land for us, the rabbits giving us fertilizer for our garden, and even the garden itself supplying compost to feed the garden next year. For me, the pigs is the biggest example of that. That first market garden took us almost 4 years to get it to where we could plant in it, and even still this year I can tell that's lacking a little bit of nutrients. But doing that second market garden with the pigs, it looks like we may actually be able to plant in it next season. So the pigs working for us shaved almost 3 years off of the process and making it a plantable space. Despite the fact that the rain makes us grumbly and uncomfortable, when you come outside and see the garden in all of its glory like this, you realize that it's all worth it. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and remember, get your hands dirty.